Okay, do you guys see the slideshow?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll just do a brief intro if that's okay, Elizabeth, and then we'll jump
Sounds great.
right. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys for joining all of us. Super excited to have you here. My name is Patrick McMahon. I'm the Vice President of the Corcoran Center for Real Estate and Urban Action's Undergraduate Real Estate Council, and I'm the host for today's lunch. So the Corcoran Center was endowed by the late Joseph Corcoran over 9 years ago, and the Corcoran Center started as a single class, housed in the Carroll School with an interdisciplinary mission. The center has grown to 10 classes, an internship program, an annual case competition, and an on-campus and off-campus engagement. The mission is to link the next generation of real estate professionals to real estate and urban action fields through courses, experiential learning, and engagement with the industry and community. Boston College's Schiller Institute for Integrated Science and Society is designed to create multidisciplinary, collaborative research processes to address critical social issues in the areas of energy, health, and the environment. We're fortunate enough today to have a leader and Boston College alumni who during her time here participated in the first student-focused activity, the Schiller Student Challenge, grappling with environmental racism, and presented her senior thesis, Environmental Injustice, the COVID-19 Pandemic, Air Pollution, and Other Correlating Factors in Massachusetts, to the Schiller Institute. Elizabeth is currently the lead AP Sustainability Manager at Consigli Construction Company and is working to get her master's in Sustainability Management from the University of Columbia. Please join me in welcoming back to the Heights, Elizabeth Allen.
Hey, Elizabeth, I'm going to jump in for a second and say hi. How are you?
Hello, good, how are you?
I'm Laura Steinberg. I'm the executive director of the Schiller Institute for Integrated Science and Society. And the Schiller Institute, as you just heard, is co-sponsoring this talk by Liz. Do you go by Liz or Elizabeth? I guess Liz.
Liz is great.
And I just wanted to say that we remember Liz from like within the first year of my coming here, which was 3.5 years ago. The Schiller Institute offered a program on environmental racism, as Patrick just mentioned. And it was an opportunity for students to present projects on environmental injustice. And Elizabeth just did a tremendous poster and I think undergraduate research thesis on this topic. And I was so impressed with Liz at the time. And I think at that time you were working for this construction company as an intern, and you had just finished your internship as a sustainability manager. And I knew you were off to do great things, and I knew how dedicated you are to working in the field of making the planet a more sustainable place for us all to live in the future. So I was just thrilled to discover that here you are back to talk to us and to inspire us. Thanks a lot for sharing your enthusiasms with us.
It's so lovely to see you again. Thank you for all of that. That's incredible. That presentation has really stuck with me because you guys asked some really great questions. And I remember sitting there being like, or I guess standing on the lawn, being like, I know the answers to these, but I'm going to have to be more prepared when I go through. And it really helped because now I've been getting presentations, doing all these things at work. And I think back to the first time I was really grilled on my research. So thank you.
I'd love to be called one who grills.
Yeah, fantastic. Amazing.
Good. All right.
Great. And I think it's really like, I haven't seen the Schiller Institute yet. I was talking about this a little bit with the small group who was here before, but I do remember it being constructed and looking at it, seeing that it was going to be something amazing. I hope to go back to campus sometime soon and take a look inside.
Enjoy, and go to the real estate center, go to Corcoran, and come visit us in the institute in the building. And we'll probably put you on our newsletter so you can keep track of it.
Sounds perfect. I'd love to.
Okay.
Great. Do you want me to dive right in? I'd love to hear a little bit about, I can see you guys on my tiny little screen here, but I'd love to kind of know what the background is of are most people in here, CSOM or part of Schiller Institute? Do we have could we do a hand raise or something?
Sure. So everyone in here that's in human-centered engineering, you want to raise your hands? And everyone in here that, what other majors are people in? Just go around.
Computer science.
Computer science, economics,
Right.
technology,
Economics and international finance.
and economics and international finance. So pretty diverse background here.
Cool. Yeah, that's a blast. Okay, great. Do you want me to touch on anything before I just get started running through things, or?
I think you're just good to go.
Okay, I know that can you guys, are you seeing like the videos in here? Is that in the way?
We can see everything on your screen right now. We're good.
Okay, we all move that a little down. Okay, well, hello. I'm so glad to be speaking to you all. It sounds like you've got a pretty exciting, diverse selection of academic backgrounds here, and I am very jealous because obviously we didn't have engineering or I think probably a lot of the courses that you guys are taking when I was a student. As was said before, I got my, let's see if I can put first slide. So I graduated in 2021. Here is a picture from that infamous Schiller Environmental Racism Summit, where I got to present my thesis. I was environmental studies and economics. I had a minor in philosophy. And it kind of was a strange, like right now, my job, most of my coworkers are engineers. The environmental world is a little bit unique because if you're in construction in general, you tend to be an engineer. If you're on the project management side, and I think that in this world is pretty much a truth, but for sustainability, there's a lot of different ways that people get to where they're going. Is anyone in this group specifically interested in sustainability stuff, or I should keep it more broad, probably? Okay, a couple, great. All right, I'll just speak my truth then, whatever happens. So interestingly, my background didn't really have a lot to do with construction in general. You can see from this screen, I kind of, I was really passionate about sustainability stuff. I got my economics degree to kind of back that up. And even like my thesis was on COVID-19 and racism, and, like demographic effects and miscellaneous stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff that I did at BC doesn't really, like, it acted as a foundation for my career, but it wasn't directly related. And I think, like, I've been out of school for 3 years now. And I think most of my friends are in the same kind of boat that, like, you get a degree from Boston College and you, like, that's what will project you in different places. Of course, like your clubs and your classes and your degree is really important, but you can see here, like, you interview for things and like how you are able to tie together your background to the potential job is more important than, I think, in my opinion, is more important than how directly relevant it may be. When I interviewed, I was a junior in college, and I was interviewing for a summer internship at Consigli Construction. I remember my like former boss, he just left the company a couple months ago. I remember him saying, "So you're interested in this kind of stuff? Like, what makes you interested in construction?" And I was like, I don't know a lot about it. I think it's cool. And I think it's something that's important. And, foundationally, the backbone of our society is buildings. So, like, it has an enormous carbon footprint and all of these things. And the way I was able to tie it in was more important than, like, I didn't have a background in architecture or building or construction. And of course, some of you might be taking classes like this that are extremely relevant to whatever job you might be looking at, but you might not, and that's okay too. So in my sustainability internship, the summer, actually, it was supposed to be the summer of 2020, but that did not happen. So I ended up doing my internship all of my senior year, which was amazing. And a lot of what I did in that internship and a lot of what I do now is I log material information for our for our construction projects. So is anyone familiar with LEED, L-E-E-D? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so it's like the biggest green building certification in the building sphere, and it's really come into prominence. Like I would say, so in Boston specifically, there are like Cambridge and Somerville have regulations where if you build a building over something like 25,000 square feet, it has to be LEED Platinum certifiable. So you don't actually have to pay for the certificate, but you have to be building your building to these standards. And it's stuff like, stuff like efficiency in lighting and water quality and material tracking. You want to be bringing in materials that have high recycled content and that have all of these certifications for like environmental product stuff and making sure that they're safe for human health. And then there's all sorts of like surrounding density and diverse uses. There's a million ways, I'm sure you guys can imagine. And I am almost positive Schiller Institute, the new building, is like a LEED. If not platinum, it's definitely one of the LEED levels. It kind of is just this wide-ranging certification. And there's like a million other sustainability certifications that I work with, but this is the main one. And when I was an intern, has anyone had an internship, like a summer internship or an internship with a company recently? You kind of have no, yeah, great. Okay, cool. I guess I should have asked, are you guys mostly upperclassmen, underclassmen? Is there, yeah, I guess Patrick, can you facilitate another hand raise?
Freshmen, none, sophomores, exams, juniors, seniors. So mostly.
Oh, love that. Okay, cool. Congratulations in advance, you guys. Very cool. Okay, great. So you may have had internships. You'll probably know if you had an internship that the work they give you is not the most fun, typically. Like the work they have for interns, and I know this now because I've had interns and I hire interns. So like the work that they're giving you is the work that they don't have time for themselves, and something that they can train you on fairly easily. And it might be cool. It might be something that you really like. But a lot of the time when you have an internship, like you'll get a good perspective on the job, but like since you only have a certain amount of time and they don't have that much time to train you, like you'll be doing odds and ends jobs, or you guys have probably seen that, experienced that. So when I was doing my internship, basically all I did was like catalog these materials for LEED. Because we've got like 60, at the time we had like 50 LEED projects. So these are like large scale buildings. Actually should have said Consigli Construction is a mid-sized construction company, and we're all over the East Coast. I was in the Boston office for the past few years, but I just moved to New York, and I'm in the New York office. But we have a really small sustainability department, so we'll handle like all of the sustainability documentation for every project for the most part. So I'll do this same stuff on like 50 projects. Like we did the McMullen Museum a while ago, and before I started, a lot of cool projects. So when I was an intern, I did a lot of this nitty-gritty work. This again. Green building in general, I kind of probably should have gone with this slide earlier, but here's LEED in the middle. If you keep your eye out for this.
I lost her.
Sorry. Yeah.
We lost you there for a second.
Oh, what was I saying? I'll just start again from when I went to this slide. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Good to know. Let me know if I have any issues with my audio. I might have moved that around too much. So LEED, if you haven't seen it before, you'll see it now. Just keep an eye out for this for this circle on buildings, it's kind of everywhere. I know it's on, I think it's O'Neill has a big LEED plaque. I know you'll see it on BC's campus. This picture, there's an annual conference, a green build conference, which is like a green building group of people. And so when I'm talking about green building, I'm talking about like architecture, design, construction, sustainability consultants. A lot of times owners are in on this conversation. It's a really wide group of people who are all interested in the same sort of like making the building world more sustainable. So like in this picture specifically, like we're in construction, there's like miscellaneous green education people in this picture, there's architects, there's engineers, there's like HVAC specialists, there's all sorts of people who get involved in this kind of thing. I would say if you're interested in green building, the most important thing like to get you into this sphere is the LEED Green Associate on the top left here. I took that exam, it's like an exam. It's a certification thing. If you have any experience in like sustainability in general, a lot of it is, it's that kind of material. It's like how to be sustainable, like let's use LED lights and stuff like that. But it's really interesting information. I did that when I was in my internship at this construction company, and my boss had saw that I did that and was like, I can see that you're interested in this, you know, from this certification. And there's, I think in a lot of fields in this area, like once you get your foot in the door, you can kind of see how you could learn more, how you could like show that you are interested and passionate and that you want to stay in the, like in this field, and that kind of thing goes a long way with potential employers. On the left here is a graph I like to show, annual CO2 emissions. These are like what the building industry is responsible for. The number that they say a lot, like AIA, the Architects Institute, association, I think that might be it, AIA, uses this 40% a lot. Buildings are responsible for 40% of all carbon emissions, and that's from the building itself and also the material used to make the building and like the transporting of the material and all of that stuff. It's a big chunk of stuff. It's a really big proportion of our emissions globally. So it's something that's really important to keep an eye on. And that's why the sphere is so big. I guess I might want to stop here and say, do you guys have any questions about green building in general as a concept, or like anything you want me to speak more to?
I would have a question.
Yeah.
Now, I think, is it JP Morgan who is building, they're building headquarters in New York now? So it should be like net zero emissions. But like when they demolished the old building, you know, recreated everything, so that, you know, accounted for, you know, a huge chunk of emissions. So does like green building certification take into account, you know, what happened before exploitation of the building?
That's a really, really good question. As a general rule, yes. There's a saying that you hear a lot in this sphere, and it's that the most sustainable building you can build is the one that already exists. That is one, it's an issue that people have with LEED, because it does incentivize like a brand new building with all of the highest technologies. You don't really get docked. You can get bonus points for like having reused material, and there's a different certification for interior design for like a gut or a reno as opposed to a brand new construction. And that's an ongoing conversation, and it's really a struggle in this discipline, because like I work in construction, so it's heavy-handed for me to be like it's probably not the best look for me to be like, we shouldn't be building any new buildings, but we probably shouldn't. But it's a complicated situation. It's a great question. Anything else? I mean, let me know if you want me to dive more into that. You know, it probably doesn't answer your question in general, but it's one of those that there really isn't an answer at this point. Anything else on green building? Cool. Okay. All right, so here are a bunch of other certifications. One of the biggest things in today's world, and like the world that you guys are entering into, I'm obviously haven't been in this world for that long, but it has been drastically changing even from, 3 years ago or 2 years ago when I started full time. So there's building codes and mandated that there's what's called like the stretch code in Boston, where buildings that are new and of a certain size, I think again it's 25,000 square feet, have to be like net zero ready or net zero, which is a term in itself that again has a lot of, confusing back and forth, maybe not so sustainable energy things to do with it. But the world that, like today's world, the energy codes are creating like a baseline for sustainability that is just more than anything we've ever seen, especially on the East Coast. Big cities, Boston, New York, Chicago, DC, all of them have legislation that is mandating some sort of sustainability. Cambridge has I think it might be Somerville. One of them has a green roof requirement. Do you guys know what a green roof is? It's like, so like just planting a garden on top of a building, or getting, some sort of landscaping on top of a building. I wonder if Schiller, I think they were talking about having a green roof. Anybody know? You guys have a green roof on the building you're sitting in?
No.
Could be cool to find out. Okay. So there's all sorts of, new requirements, new code requirements, new baseline things. And then all of these other, here's like, this is the 2015 building code. There's a new code that's more stringent. And then there's a bunch of other certifications. We've got WELL, which focuses more on human health. This is Living Building Challenge, which we're doing a couple Harvard projects with Living Building Challenge. And it's really cool because there's like just straight up cutting out a lot of these toxic materials. So like there's a bunch of chemicals and paints that they won't allow, and there's a bunch of types of plastic that they won't allow on the job. So we're using a bunch of different materials. It's a mass timber project as well. If you guys, mass timber isn't familiar with you guys, it's like when you, instead of steel, you have wood as the structural foundation, and it's really cool. It's kind of, connecting us to our historic building roots there. And it's kind of it's catching momentum. There's all sorts of cool energy things and big sustainability practices that are just becoming more and more of a thing in this world, more and more of a baseline. I guess, any questions on this stuff? We can always, I'll probably, depending on time, I guess, have time for questions at the end. So on a day-to-day, this is what a scorecard looks like for LEED. And I am talking a lot about LEED, but of course there's like a million other certifications. But this is just the one I deal with day-to-day. This is Alston LabWorks. It's a project in Alston I've been working on. I mean, this is the rendering. This has not yet been constructed fully. And I'll be handling like material transaction for that and waste reports. So like whatever waste is leaving the site. And then these kind of photo documentations, a lot of what my job is making sure that our job sites are as sustainable as possible. So we want to make sure that like we don't have debris running off into waterways, into the Charles, and polluting everywhere. And we also want to make sure that stuff is staying on our site. We've got a lot of different materials. So here we have like a catch basin in the storm drains, and like erosion a lot of erosion sediment control measures. We also take care of like indoor air quality stuff, so making sure that the air inside the building is breathable and good for both our construction workers and also the future inhabitants. And then I think the coolest part of my job is I also take care of our corporate sustainability stuff. So here's like kind of an overview. This is from 2022. We're working on our 23 numbers. We have a lot of diverse sustainability projects, and I get to work on all of them because, again, we have a really small department. I also get to handle like our corporate sustainability initiatives, so stuff like scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions tracking, like checking out how much energy we use on an annual basis in our construction sites, and then stuff like how many times are people flying to other cities to go to interviews and stuff, or how much gas does it take for employees to get to the job site or to the office. There's a million different things like that. And then I also get to handle a lot of I work really closely with our DE&I, our diversity, equity, and inclusion group, and work on stuff with, diversity and equity and social justice stuff. When we have projects that are relevant, or, like trying to use for our we're a general contractor. So we have, we hire out for trades. We'll like have someone who does the, structural steel, like we'll have structural steel guys come in, and we hire them. So like we're prioritizing hiring like minority or women-owned businesses, that kind of stuff. There's a ton of different, within the building industry, there's just like a ton of different subsets of things, like there's a million different ways you could go. And then I just moved to New York because I started my master's in sustainability management at Columbia. For kind of just because I wanted to, I think it'll be good for my career, but just kind of depending on your job. I don't know necessarily that I need it for this job. But it just kind of goes to show that like it has actually helped in the way that I'm managing projects, kind of just showcasing how, windy your path can be. I think that's kind of all I have. You guys have any questions for me? That was a lot of information.
I have one to start, Elizabeth. So as someone, I know you mentioned that you had interns, and obviously had a lot of internships. Kind of from that perspective, what would you, like as a boss of interns, really be looking for your interns to like excel in or do that like would stand out to you?
That's a really good question. I think the first thing is, like, people who hire interns, they know that we're expecting absolutely no knowledge from our interns. And it's nothing personal, it's just that these are really niche things. So what I really hope for is like a willingness, like an excitement to learn, and like, it's okay for you not to know everything, because you don't, this is a totally new sphere. Like, a ton from school, and anything you can possibly bring in is fantastic, but definitely just like being eager to learn, asking questions wherever you possibly can. And then the other thing is, I think of note is to just like make sure that you are like kind of understanding how to manage your time and how to manage your manager's time, like maybe compiling all your questions into one document and, bringing them at the end of the day, or like whenever your manager has time. I think they're like, we are excited to have new, like, excited people. I mean, not to generalize, I'm excited to have new and excited people. So just, bring that excitement to your internships.
Kind of as a follow-up on that, what kind of things at BC do you think helps like kind of you get a foot in the door at a lot of your internships and kind of at your job now? like, obviously, you spoke a little bit to having a different background than what's typical. So
Mhm.
what steps did you take here that you think have really made an impact in your career today?
That's a great question. I think honestly doing a thesis, I know every, degree is different. And it might not be something you want to do, but I'm really glad I did a thesis because it showed not only to, my boss, but to myself that I could like really put together a coherent set of data and like be able to stand for, you know, be able to really defend your data. And like Laura was saying, be able to like having to defend my thesis in that way, and which I know that we're not, you're not doing a PhD, you're not defending a thesis, but like knowing how to present that information. And I would say like in any of your classes, any presentations that you're doing or like group projects, like that's what working is like. I'm constantly giving presentations. I'm on group projects, every day, all day. So understanding how you work with people and understanding like how to manage your own time is really important. I think that is another big thing that I got from BC, because like you're doing a lot of work like that. BC is not an easy school. So knowing that you can manage the workload that you're given in class, and like having an organizational structure, bringing that with you to work, I think that's a really important, way to keep like yourself sane a little bit. Because it's easy to get like, depending on what you're doing, it's easy for you to get caught up and like get lost in your work. So any way that you can organize your thoughts, I think that's really valuable.
And if nobody else has any, at least last one kind of here. What was kind of your favorite class that you took at BC, or like class that has helped you the most, if those are different?
I took modern architecture for fun my senior year with Orwig. My hope is still there. I really loved it, and it's come up a lot just like building wise, because like you're talking to an architect and they'll bring up like some classic, you know, classic architect, and they'll just like mention it offhand, and knowing that I know that kind of like it's a really great area of conversation. So like if there's anything you're interested in, like I took it's an art class technically, or it was. So I took it kind of for fun. I think things that are fun to take are kind of the ones that I have found the most useful, because a lot of work is just like networking and being able to talk about things you're excited about. I took a lot of philosophy classes, so like, that comes up more than you would expect, just because it's something that I'm interested in, and like other people find that same kind of interest. So yeah, I would say just like take unexpected classes, even if they might not be so relevant, because you would kind of be surprised. Like obviously architecture does make sense, but I didn't know I was going into this field at the time. So like whatever makes sense. And then like statistics. Unfortunately, I took stats because I was an econ major as well. I mean, obviously it depends on what you're doing, but I think stats was really helpful for me, just in like conceptualizing data, which is important for a lot of jobs. And just like getting a grip on like how numbers are relative, and like how people present this data is so variant that like, I think that's a good perspective to have. Anything else? I have some questions for you guys, if I'm allowed to do that.
Absolutely.
So a lot of you guys are seniors. Does anyone have plans lined up for after school? Cool. I'm glad I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking. So I got my job a lot earlier than most of my friends did. and it infuriated most of my friends, you know, very fair. But I would say, like, don't stress about, like I was talking to Sarah about this a little bit before. Don't stress about it. I have friends who didn't get a job until 3 months after, and I have friends who got a job the minute they graduated, and I have friends who switched jobs 1 year after. Like it's so, you know, tumultuous, and like just because you have a job doesn't, like, the people who have a job who you might be seeing who are already like set, that job might not be the job for them. So they might end up quitting 2 months into their job and getting a new job, you know? So I would just say, don't stress about it at this point. Like, you're in a good place already because you're going to be graduating from Boston College. So check, you know, you're doing well. Like if you need to take a few months to see what lands, I think that's a great option. Cool.
I think that's it from over here. Thank you so much for coming, Elizabeth. We really appreciate
Great.
it. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was great to chat with you guys.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy your lunch.
Will do. All right.
And I should say also, Patrick has my contact info if anybody wants to ask me any more questions or specific information. I am in New York City now, but I was in Boston, so I know a lot about like the green building sphere there, if anyone's interested. Cool. Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Have a good rest of your day.
you. See you later.